It's another Friday here on Outpost Unknown. My name's Matthew. He is Jeremy.
Hey, everybody.
And we are exhuming the X-Files. We're uncovering government conspiracies and secrets every week. So hit that like and subscribe to make sure you know what's going on with our shady, sketchy shadow government. Tonight, we are talking about episode 2 of season 3, Paperclip, which is basically the finale of a 3-part arc that started in the season finale of season 2. And now, your feelings going into this, I think we can both say we're very excited, right? We kind of spoiled that last episode. We wanted to get right into this one, correct?
Yeah. I there was no pause. I just needed to start watching this immediately to see where the hell things were going.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
So it begins with a picture of a mesa and that same really good Indian narration from the previous episode, where they talk about miracles coming from their northern brothers, the up north. And I remember this stuff from when I was a kid because I think that there was a white buffalo born around this time that it hit the news in southern Canada somewhere. So I thought it was really, really cool that they, or as a kid, that they were talking about this being some sort of miraculous thing. That what it means is that changes are coming, and then we get a picture of this new baby calf, and then we get the title screen.
Yeah, I was not as impressed with this opening prologue, not because of the White Buffalo thing. I thought like it opened with a lot of really shoddy looking video footage of nature shots. It didn't look like they actually went out with like 35 millimeter cameras and got some cool shots. It was like they just grabbed video footage and it looked weird against the rest of the episode. But that was just a sort of thing that I had. But
I mean, they do use stock footage whenever they go to New York. It's just that same
yeah,
videoed, just crap.
but
I
they
got
but they shouldn't at this point. Now that we're into season 3, they shouldn't need to do that. And this felt kind of like thrown together without the care that it necessarily should have had, in my opinion. But
right. Then after the title screen, we immediately go back to the Mexican standoff, and Mulder busts in the door, gun drawn already, because that's what you do when you show up at your own apartment. Sometimes just
well,
have your
I'm sure he heard them yelling at each other because like Skinner's like, "Put the gun down, bitch," and Scully's like, "Fuck you, motherfucker! You put it down." They're like screaming and yelling in this apartment.
somebody could be watching an HBO show next door. Yeah.
True.
So he busts into his own apartment, gun drawn, pulls it down on Skinner, tells him, put the gun down. He's gonna leave with Scully. He tells him, Skinner tells him, like, hey, you remember that evidence you left in your desk? Like, I have it. And instead
You-
of taking it from him,
wait a
he's
minute. Wait a
like,
minute. You missed the best
what
line in this episode. So
you
this
get?
was again written by Chris Carter, directed by Rob Bowman, and Scully. When Mulder busts in the fucking door, the look on Gillian Anderson's face looks like complete shock. Like she is stunned, almost like they didn't tell her David Duchovny was going to be on set that day. They just had him bust in, and then like she says something like, "You're here." And he's like, "I was a dead man. Now I'm back."
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember this.
I
Weird
laughed.
fucking
I laughed so hard. They said it with such conviction. I was a dead man. Now I'm back.
Yeah, played it completely straight. Fell flat. But no, I mean, it's cool. So yeah, Skinner says, I've got the evidence that you need, and for some reason Mulder just says, keep it. There are truth. We can go dig up truth somewhere else.
Well, yeah, because it's so
I,
weird. It's so weird. They get Skinner is in a bad situation here. Like he doesn't have the gun anymore. Like, he's got 2 guns on him. He drops his gun, and they have like this philosophical conversation about, well, I have this, but I'm Skinner, so I should hold on to it because they're gonna kill you. And if they kill you with you having this on it, then we're all fucked. So at least if I hold on to it, they'd have to kill an assistant director of the FBI sort of thing. And then Mulder's like, "You're right, bro. You hold on to it, Scully. Let's get out of here. Let's bounce."
It doesn't really give it any sort of thought or second thought. Like, yeah, it holds up. Like all of the evidence to prove the truth, the only concrete evidence that exists right now, he's just gonna let Skinner walk off. Okay.
Yeah, and it comes full circle at the end of this episode when you think to yourself, "Oh, Mulder, you could have had this at the beginning of this episode. Like, why are you putting up such a fight now?" But we'll get there.
We find out that Scully's sister actually lived, but is in a coma. No idea who found her at Scully's apartment, but that she's at the hospital, that Scully's mom is there at the hospital with her, and that there's some creepo walking around, like, waiting for somebody to show up. Probably Scully.
Yeah.
Um,
Scully has that comment though when they're in the elevator, like right before after they leave the apartment, where she's like, "I told your mother you were going to be okay," and Mulder's like, "How would you know that?" And she's like, "I just knew," with a smile. Chris
then I
Carter
have this.
writing, folks.
I have this.
You
No,
came
okay.
to me in a dream, buddy.
Where did the pictures of the Nazi war criminals come from?
Oh, that's a good point. I feel like I had seen that somewhere. Was that in a previous episode on Asazi? Maybe. I thought Mulder had that picture last season, and he was trying to show his mom then, wasn't he?
No, that was like he just pulls out the photograph because when he went to her the last episode. No, it's in this episode.
But
It's
I
later
thought
on because this is the episode that his mom actually says something, and it's just like, oh, fucking slow jerk off motion. Like it was so bad. But no, I don't know where that photograph came from.
I could have swore we saw that at some point in season 2, and I just assumed that he had it, like he just kept it on him at all
A
times or something.
giant fucking photograph in his pocket.
I thought so.
I,
Listeners, leave a comment down below. Like,
yeah.
where did that photo come from? Remind us.
But somebody who was it the well dressed gentleman that tells them about Operation Paperclip? No, because
No. That's the lone gunman.
yeah,
Remember,
okay.
because they go to meet Byers and Langley, and they start talking about Operation Paperclip, and that's when Frohickey shows up,
Yeah,
and
and they had that great line.
he's super happy Mulder's alive, and Mulder's like, "You're gonna have to wait a little longer for my video collection." And this is like there is a series of Mulder porn jokes that are coming up in subsequent episodes, and Mulder's sexual picadillos. They really lean heavy in the start of season 3 into Mulder's sex fetishes and whatnot.
I had a few laughs over the course
Yeah,
of
it's
these
super funny.
episodes for sure. We cut back to the cigarette smoking man. He's being cornered by his people about this tape. I think he tells them that because they failed the no, we're not there yet. No, he's just being cornered about the tape. He's
Yeah,
like,
they want it. They're like, "Give it
you
to
need
show
to,
it to us."
and
They're like,
he's
"Show
like,
it to
oh
us."
yeah, I'll and they pay you back Tuesday for. It was so bad.
It's like this entire cabal of super powerful dudes that just sit in a room smoking cigarettes around each other. Any one of them could have just grabbed him and like, "You're showing to us now, or you're going to die. We're not giving you 24 hours to give it to us now, but we got to have an episode."
So it puts him or the cigarette smoking man on edge. They go visit one of these Nazi war criminals to ask about his dad, and of course the conversation goes completely nowhere, except for he tells them the location that photograph was taken at.
Yeah.
And
Klempter, is that the Nazi's name? And they basically
Clement,
say that this guy was part of Operation Paperclip. And so, for anyone who doesn't know what Operation Paperclip was, it was basically like after World War II, the United States just said, "Hey, German scientists, though some of you may be horrible Nazi war criminals, come on over, help us build rockets, help us get us to the moon and do all these, we want your scientific knowledge rather than have you be hanged for Nuremberg trial stuff. Come on over and help us beat the Soviets. And that's kind of what that was. And so they kind of state that this Klemter guy was a horrible, horrible Nazi, and he's actually based on a real Nazi who did aerospace stuff, but he tested a bunch of really horrible aerospace things on Jewish people who all ended up dying. And that's what this guy's kind of based off of. He's just in there in his greenhouse, being like living the good life here in America because we valued his mind more than we cared about his war crimes. The
Yeah,
end. The end.
we did that. Somehow we somebody reached out to the Navajo guy that was down in Arizona or wherever, and he got to Scully's sister's hospital like within a couple hours in
Yeah.
order to like try to pray over. I guess somebody was.
He doesn't say who, because like the whole thing is Scully's mom is there at the hospital with Scully's sister, and Scully's mom is like, "Where is Dana? Why is Dana not here?" And people keep showing up saying, giving like messages to her. Oh, we're just here to tell you that Dana can't be here right now.
Make it. She really
Yeah,
wanted to be here.
yeah, she's into some shit, but don't worry, she's okay for now. Blah blah. So poor Scully's mother, right? She's like one daughter she clearly knows is in some sort of danger and might die. She's looking at her other daughter that are shot in the head. But good old Albert comes up. Somebody calls him, who we don't know who, and he comes in and tries to help her out. He's
You
a good
just made
dude.
me think for just a second. Is it because they did that they didn't need to do the entire piece with Scully's sister being shot? We have so many more important things that are threads that Chris Carter needs to tie up that he just kind of forgot about it. And the only reason, because he might be somewhat aware somewhere in his periphery that there's a dying woman laying in a hospital somewhere that means something to the main character, but there's no way that any of them can show up and do anything about it or contribute. So we just have to like put, because doesn't Skinner go there at one point
Yeah, Skinner shows
and
up,
say the
and
same thing the fucking Indian fella did?
yeah, like there's no real reason that Albert needed to be there at all. Like he doesn't do anything other than walk into the hospital room and immediately his narration is like, she's gonna die. Like all the doctors say she's getting better, but I know the spirit world told me she's going to die. So he actually spoils narratively what's going to happen with the sister before, because at this point we don't exactly know that she's going to die. We know that she was shot critically, but the doctors apparently say she's doing better. So as a writer, I would not have even put Albert in that spot. Now it makes sense when he shows up later, and we'll get there to why he's there, and his importance to the episode. But to be in that hospital room doesn't make sense narratively.
So in my imagination, Mulder calls him and wire like whatever Western Union, the fastest way to send money, sends him some cash, but the phone call begins with, "Hey, you're really good at curing dehydration. How are you for bullets in the fucking brain pan?"
Can
And
you
then
do
just brings him in.
can you do the same thing you did to me to this woman with a bullet inside of
Yeah,
her brain?
right. Because that works, doesn't it?
Apparently, the Navajo, that's the secret to great healthcare in the United States. Let's just have the Navajo do our healthcare for us. Do their little blessing way, and we'll all be fine.
But she didn't live because he didn't make that like sweet sand drawing on the ground. He
No, he
just didn't
didn't
have the
make that
tools.
badass cornbread. Fucking great cornbread.
I'm
I want some.
you're on this cornbread thing, but I feel that somebody just made up some bullshit in the prop department, and what you think is delicious cornbread is probably like melted expando foam or something.
Probably.
Yeah. Um. God, I'm so lost in my notes right now.
Klemper calls the well manicured man, and he's like, okay, because that's the thing we forgot to mention on the last episode. The syndicate is like, what the fuck's up with Mulder? And cigarette smoking man, he's dead. Guarantee 100%. He's dead. Saw it with my own eyes. I firebombed the thing. No way he's dead. Because the syndicate's like, we cannot have this guy running around with this digital tape that exposes every government alien secret in the world. And cigarette smoking man's like, no, 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 man. He's dead. Everybody be calm, be cool. He's dead. And I've got the tape. It's just, I got to wait 24 hours and I can bring it right to you. And then after Mulder shows up at this Nazi's greenhouse, he immediately calls the well manicured man. He's like, "Hey, bro, long time no speak. By the way, our mutual friend, Mr. Mulder, well, his son just came and talked to me. Toodles." And then he just hangs up. Like
But
they
that
haven't spoken to each other in years. He just has his number on speed dial.
he's got. I mean, there's always going to be that bat phone for situations like this. Like
Oh yeah.
you need to handle whatever is this guy is up to. So they go to this mine, I guess, and they walk around inside of it. And I could have swore I've seen this particular building in a couple of previous episodes of X Files. But
Quite possible, yeah.
they find these four doors that have keypads on them, and the doors are in immaculate condition. They have no idea what the code is, so Scully starts talking about, well, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was the equivalent of like just punching in whatever the default unlock codes for these keypads
It's
are when
called
they're
like
installed.
Napier's Constant or something. The Nazi actually mentions something about that. When they're having their conversation, he's like, "Have you ever heard of Napier's Constant?" And I hadn't ever heard of it. I didn't know what the fuck that was. They don't really explain what it is in the show at all. And so I think they use that. It's some sort of numbering system or something. And I think that's what triggers Scully. He's like, oh, well, he was being deliberately vague, but still giving us a piece of the clue so I could figure it out.
Okay, well, that went so far over my fucking head that I didn't
Yeah.
even pick it up. She just started punching codes in. Like, I think after she gets one of them unlocked, she pays lip service to it. But okay, whatever. They go inside, and it's just file cabinets as far as the eye can see. But they say it's far as the eye can see. They don't really show you that. They're just like it's mile after mile after
Yeah, they show like
mile.
10 of them in a row, and then
Yeah.
you just see like a mine track that goes off around a corner. And they just assume that there's tons and tons and tons of them in there.
So they start scanning one of them. They find that it's all medical files, detailed medical histories of bunches of people from like 1955. So they run or that were born in 1955. So they run down to like the year that Scully was born and find that she has a file there, clearly from her abduction with a tissue sample inside of it. Then
New
they go
too.
back
Yeah, because they're
and
like he specifically mentions like this is brand new. Like somebody came into this thing and put this new piece of medical stuff into your thing, which made me think like, where are all the people running this thing?
we get
It,
to that in just
okay,
a second.
okay.
Well, I think we do anyway.
I don't. I didn't make a note. I don't remember. Okay, go ahead.
So they find Mulder's sister, her file in there, and then there was this really lame part where like he sees his sister's name tape on the file, and he peels it back and finds his name underneath it, like he was supposed to be the original abductee.
Yeah, I
It's a
actually like.
file folder. Why wouldn't they just get a new one?
I liked it though. I actually liked that moment because it made you question like, oh well, who was supposed to be? And of course, we find out later on in the episode. We won't spoil it yet, but it just makes you think. It's like, oh wait a minute, how did Mulder and Samantha get switched? like what is. But I don't even think Mulder even bothered to see if he had his like another file in there with his name on it. He just took out the Samantha one and didn't look at any others. And I would have been like flipping through, like, all right, like where am I? Am I in here? But
I think maybe somebody thought that you guys are flipping through medical files a little bit too much here, so we need to do something completely awesome that just doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's exactly what happens because Mulder immediately leaves, or he walks out of where the files are at, and this big fuck off UFO, which I thought was awesome, like takes off in front of the building that he's in.
yeah,
Like it's shaking the building a little bit. It's got this huge light bar around the side. The effect is really, really cool. I don't know why they're there. It cuts back to Scully, and this is where the note that you missed. All of a sudden, all like aliens of the same type, height and shape of the ones that had got burned out at the end of Anasazi or gassed in the way of the blessing way.
yeah.
All of a sudden, just run past her, and she's standing there with a flashlight. She doesn't get a good look at any of them, which tells me that the costumes look like shit. But
So
that's who
you think those alien things are the ones that are like?
doing the filing.
Oh, see, I didn't get that. Like, I saw the aliens run. I thought they were running to like the UFO to get out or something.
They
Like,
were, but they've been there the whole fucking time.
you think they're government employees that are doing filing?
They're they're hinted that they're alien human hybrids. What the fuck else were they doing down there?
I don't know what they were doing. That was one of the mysteries
Filing
of the episode.
paperwork. It's the government. It makes sense, Matt. Waste, fraud, waste, and abuse. If you're not putting those aliens to work.
I can see that now. Okay, that makes sense.
But well, it makes about as much sense as they were just huddled in a fucking corner down there for just locked away. Like, what were they doing there other than to create this really cool scene where something cool happens? The
Yeah, I don't
UFO
know.
thing was awesome. Like, they run out
Yeah,
to the end of a tunnel, which apparently there's just a door that fucking goes outside. Never mind the keypad that just lets them in. There's just a door. Or not, I don't even think it was a door. It was just the mouth of one of the mine shafts because it was just
yeah,
wide open to broad daylight.
yeah. But then later on, when they escape, Scully just literally pushes it open like there's a door, and it literally opens.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, okay. So she gets out. There's this bright light. Like Mulder sees this sweet kind of triangle, giant fucking UFO over the top of the building. All of the aliens run away from Scully down to the end of this mine shaft or this mine entrance and leaves, but not the way that they came in. Some other side that apparently had no locks. A brilliant flash of light where the mothership must have scooped them all off and just bailed. And then as soon as they bail, here come the CIA or
Yeah,
a government like entity with dudes with guns. And they just run in and just start blasting at Mulder.
yeah. Because the syndicate, whatever, when they find out that Mulder's still alive, they're like, "All right, we're gonna take care of this asshole ourselves. We're not gonna wait on cigarette smoking man anymore."
So he just starts dodging bullets from professionals that just have him caught way out in the open. Locks himself inside of one of the vaults, runs up to Scully and like, hey, there's bad guys out there. We gotta go. And she's like, I think I might have an exit. And they just run
they
out of
lit-
the other side.
they literally open a door, run off down a road, and then it just fades to the next scene. It's like I was like, that could have been written better. My note was here is like, did they take the files because they're holding Samantha's file and Scully's file, but they don't leave with those files. And I'm
Yeah.
like, surely they took that evidence, right? Nope. Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't
What?
appears like they left that critical evidence back in that
No, I know
alien
what happened.
staffed government
They didn't
filings.
leave it. When Scully. Okay, so Mulder hands her the files, right? Because I remember that happening. I think
Hmm.
I want to say that happened when he runs out to go see the alien ship, right? So she's just standing there. with the files, and then all of a sudden she gets mobbed by these employees who take the files from her, put them back, and then shuffle out to, break or end a shift. It might have been 5 p.m. I don't know.
I wonder what their series and pay grade is. Like, I'm just curious now. You got me thinking. I'm going down all kinds of rabbit holes now about these alien human government filing employees.
So, okay, so let me. Where the fuck am I?
No, okay,
I
there
don't
is a
even.
moment. There is one thing we missed here. At some point during while all this is happening, it does cut back to cigarette smoking man going to Skinner's office. And that's the scene. I think we actually mentioned it last episode because we
Yeah.
watched these back to back, so it kind of got mixed up. But that's where Skinner's like, "I might have your stupid thing, whatever." And Cigarette Smoking Man's like, "Let me tell you something. I don't work deals." And Skinner's like, "I got that tape." And it's like the first time we actually see Cigarette Smoking Man panic. He's like, "Where is it? Where is it?" And Skinner won't tell him, and he's like freaking the fuck out, which made me think it's like if Cigarette Smoking Man does not provide this tape to the syndicate, they're just going to murder him, right? So this is him like actually fearing for his life.
Yeah.
Okay. I just
I
want
think
to make sure I got that right.
more than that because he never really comes across the guy that seems to be. I mean, he's self-interested, but no, as far as his life expectancy goes, I don't know that he's really comes across as the sort of guy that fears for his life. I think whatever he has to fear from the syndicate is so much worse than just death because he is on fucking edge.
Well, they'll probably make him the supervisor of that goddamn alien human filing thing. You're demoted, motherfucker.
Welcome to Siberia. You're going to be doing paperwork forever. So, yeah, but that was the second one. Was that the one where Skinner like just tells him off?
Let me look at my thing here. Well, let's keep going. I have a bunch of notes here, so I'll try to
Okay,
see.
so after the aliens take off, men with guns shoot at Mulder. Skin offers protection for tape. The tape. Okay, so yeah, Skinner meets with
Yeah.
Scully and Mulder and
In the
says, "I can
smokiest
trade."
diner in America.
Yeah.
It's like
That was just a normal diner back then, man. I
Yeah.
used to smoke. I miss it so
Yeah,
much.
it's like we have this really great diner here where we live called Virginia's, and it reminded me of Virginia's before the Lincoln instituted the smoking ban tours, where you would walk into the diner and there's just a line of brown on the wall, and it's like
That
breathe
line of
deep.
brown is still there, by the way.
I haven't been there in quite a while.
Oh, you've been missing out. It's still delicious food. It just instead of cigarettes, you smell the toilet cakes in the bathroom.
Great. You know they had to bug bomb that place because the apartment right above it was infested with bed bugs.
Okay, I mean bed bugs. Don't make the food any less good. Man. It's delicious and cheap. Okay, so they're hanging out with Skinner. Skinner says, "We can trade protection for the both of you for the tape." And this was like a really interesting part to me because Scully wants to. She wants to. She wants to just bail on this. She's like, the truth, all of this stuff. Like, my sister's laying in a fucking hospital. I can't go see her, even though it's my fault that she got shot in the head because of all this shit. I'd rather just get this shit behind me, just so I can, just do that basic thing as a family member.
Yeah. And Skinner tells them, "Hey, I'm going to get you guys reinstated with this. That's going to be part of the condition as well. It's not like, hey, I'll just protect you, but you guys will be back in the FBI hunting X-File shit again." And yeah, and Scully, she has that great line when she tells, because Mulder is very like, "Fuck that shit. We are going to expose these motherfuckers. We've got the evidence, blah blah blah." And then Scully has, again, Gillian Anderson does such like heavy lifting in terms of like emotion and acting on this show. It's become much more apparent to me through this rewatch than what I kind of always thought in my head. But yeah, she has that great line. She's like, "I need to see my sister," and you can tell Mulder at that point was like, "I get it. Okay. But then he's like, but it's your call. He's like, I'm not going to make the decision.
So they send Skinner apparently from there to go visit Scully's sister at the hospital. He runs into the Navajo fella. The Navajo fella is just, I guess, eating Scully's sister's pudding or whatever. He's not really doing anything. But he does make mention that that man that's been walking around outside the door has been very interested in this room. So Skinner's like, well, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Goes out into a stairwell. He goes up instead of down, which I noticed.
Yeah.
Didn't make any sense. And then he gets his ass kicked.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Krychek and the boys show up, beat the shit out of him, and take the goddamn drive. That he's just been having. He's had that in his pocket of his like trench coat for like 2 episodes, and Krychek just beats the shit out of him and takes it, just like that.
And then, yeah, by Christian Slater's haircut, Krychek. And then there's this really stupid scene where they stop, or Krychek and the other guy that he's with stops. And he's like, I want a beer. You want anything? And he runs inside, and Krychek realizes through the clock on the dashboard that there's a bomb.
Now the shot is cool when Krychek gets out of the car and he's sprinting at full speed and the camera's like panning with him and then the car explodes in the background. That was a cool shot. I really like that. The setup to it was stupid, but the shot was awesome.
Yeah, got the shot. Great job,
Yeah,
Chris Carter.
that's all you need is the shot. Like, look cool.
And Krychek, it just goes sprinting off into the distance with the dude. The dude he was with was clearly setting up to go kill him, and he was only like a city block away, maybe like across the intersection of the street.
Yeah,
street running off into the woods, and the guy just
they just stand there and watch him go away.
I'm kind of tired.
I want that beer. I didn't get to finish that beer.
So Krychek getting blown up in a car. It's implied that this Nazi Klemper guy made alien hybrids.
Oh, it's not implied. Well Manicured Man tells them the entire story.
Yeah, and what's funny is the whole time Scully's just staring both of them down like, Mulder, you just want to believe whatever guy just tells you the most fucking fantastic story. Like, stop it! And the dude, like, without skipping a beat, he just continues the story. And Mulder just starts mansplaining to her, like, how things are gonna be.
I think what's interesting about this is I think this is a very important like 2 minutes of dialogue in the history of X-Files because this dude, like, he gives no fucks. He's like, I can kill anybody at any time if I want to. And he literally tells them, he's like, look, the Nazi was creating human alien hybrids. That's what you saw. Oh, by the way, that your dad in that picture, he was collecting tissue from every American through the smallpox vaccine in order for this Nazi to be able to do his tests. And oh, by the way, we took Samantha as insurance because your dad threatened to expose everything. And so we said, fine, we'll take your daughter. And like Mulder is just like flabbergasted at this, and the well-manicured
drinking it up.
He comes across, and and Mulder even says something to him like, "Why are you telling me this?" And the guy's like, "Because you wanted to know." And then he just fucking walks away, like he gives no fucks about all this shit. He's just like, I don't care if you know. This is what's going on. Deal with it.
And Scully ends up getting so mad because she's not getting listened to.
Poor Scully.
Then we cut to Mulder meeting with his mom again, and the only interesting dialogue that she really ever says, to my recollection, he getting back to the file folder that had both his name and his sister's name on it. She's like, okay, you're not going to tell me anything, but did Dad ever ask you if you had a favorite? Did Dad ever make you choose? And he makes her say that, yeah, he made me choose and even though he's dead, I hate him still for it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. That's the only. Yeah, you're right. That's the only time that actress did anything, and she was good for those
but
like 2
she
lines.
did nail it.
Yeah, those 2 lines she nailed. Everything she was doing before that. Oh, I don't know, Fox. I
Oh,
can't remember. Oh,
look
leave
at
me
that.
alone. Let me sleep, Fox, please. All fucking stupid, but she nailed the line that mattered. So I'll give her a pass.
Ah, this is it. So the next scene, cigarette smoking man is basically demanding the tape back from Skinner, because it
No,
wasn't actually blown up.
yeah, well, yeah, no, but doesn't cigarette smoking man think it was? He thinks it's blown up though, because he shows up at Skinner's being like, because he tells um, the syndicate, he's like, I'm not going to make a deal with this guy because there's no deal to make,
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
and he's like, the tape's gone. He's got nothing, and so cigarette smoking man shows up, and Skinner's like all in his face, and cigarette smoking man's just okay, dude. Uh, no. My
And
answer is
so,
no.
and that's when Skinner produces the Navajo fella and says, he has memorized the entire files in translation. He's told 20 other dudes, and if you fuck with me, like they're gonna tell everybody. And he's like, what does he say? It's pucker up and kiss my ass.
I would okay. I like this kind of twist. I don't buy the twist. When did Albert have any time to memorize probably hundreds of pages of classified information and then tell 20 of his Navajo brethren the exact same thing where they all memorized it? Because Skinner's like, you're going to have to kill every Navajo in 4 states. I'm just like, this feels like a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing. Like Chris Carter wrote himself into a wall, and it was like out a corner, and he's like, "Oh shit! Well, the Navajo can memorize anything
No,
in a
hold on,
short
hold
amount
on.
of time, so
You're
here's how I'm
not
getting out of it."
following the Chris Carter normal line of thought. First, I'm in a corner. What am I gonna do? Can I fit voodoo in here? No. So
So yeah, that's Skinner's, I guess, trump card is Albert. Good old Albert.
and then we find out that Mulder, or I have a note here, Mulder's or sorry, Skin or Scully's hot ass sister died because of the buffalo.
Yep.
Because we have this narration that finds out that the mom died, and then I guess the baby died in that buffalo scenario from the
Yeah,
beginning of the episode.
stop nursing or something after 3 days.
And then we have at the end of the episode this really interesting conversation where Scully has heard the truth. I think she says, that she heard the truth and she doesn't think the answers were worth her sister's life.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of ends.
Yeah. All right. What did you think of Paperclip wrapping up this 3 episode arc?
I mean, if you're taking all 3 episodes, I think it's a constant, like, uphill trajectory for all 3 of the episodes. This episode was good. I didn't find anything in it that I really, really hated. And even though I reviewed the previous episode, I watched it, I enjoyed it. After reviewing the notes and talking to you about it, it's like, okay, this is kind of bullshit. This is kind of bullshit. I feel like there was a lot less of that in this episode because it was just so all around very good. And I remember messaging you right after I finished this episode. I'm like, if
Hmm.
this is how season 3 started, I've got 2 more episodes to watch, and it's going to be like, it can't be this good. It's going to be like fucking werewolves in a rubber mask bullshit. Like we got to get some of that filler that just doesn't work or
Yeah.
isn't all that great.
Yeah.
Spoiler,
Yeah.
I'm pleasantly surprised, but that's what I was expecting. Is like this cannot get better until like mid season or end season. We're on such a high because the episodes are so
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this episode was really cool. And I part of like as we do these podcasts is watching these and I write notes. Whereas in the past when I'd watch X Files, I don't take any notes, right? I just take it in and whatever my reaction is, what is my reaction. And when I'm watching these closer and writing down my thoughts as I'm doing it, I find myself picking these things apart way more than I ever would have done had I not been taking notes for this show. But I don't want people out there to think that, when I'm making a joke about how stupid a decision is that Chris Carter wrote, if something in there that is just dumb or doesn't make any sense, that's not me saying I necessarily it's making me not enjoy the show as much, because I think one of the great powers of X Files is you can watch this show and it makes absolutely no sense logically in a lot of places, but it doesn't matter because it's so entertaining and I'm so appreciative of what they're trying to do. And there's so many great characters that I can kind of overlook that. I just kind of take that as part of the show and I'm okay with it. I can see someone who is not that interested in X Files who just watches something like this, like, well, that doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And it really affects their enjoyment of the show. For me, all this mythology stuff doesn't matter. I still think this is as enjoyable as I did when I was a kid. Yeah, I see more of the problems inherent in like poking holes in it. But still, I still enjoy it. I still like it. I thought this was the best of the three, for me
Easily.
personally. I thought it moved really, really quick. I thought it was like there was so much stuff jam packed into this. We learned so much from this that I was really taken with it. I like this one much, much more than the first one, the Blessing Way last week. Yeah, but I'm like, I want to know more about that UFO. Why did a UFO just suddenly come up from the ground and fly? Why are there little aliens running around? Government employees, they got their
Yeah.
PIV cards around their neck as they're running to get to the spaceship. Um, but yeah, overall, cool episode, very, very cool. And you can really tell watching these first two episodes of why people are like, all right, season 3 is where it really starts getting good. Like we've had great episodes in season 1 and season 2, but season 3 is when X Files really started to become a cultural phenomenon where literally 20, 30, 40 million people would tune in every Friday night to watch this show. And it's episodes like this, that really emphasize that for me anyway. So,
No, I completely agree.
okay. So some tidbits from IMDb and Wikipedia here. The aliens in this episode who run past Scully in the mining facility were portrayed by children aged 8 and 9. The spacecraft spotted by Mulder was achieved by using a crane to lift lights over the building Mulder was outside. Napier's constant is used as a code to access the mining facility in the episode, though the code is used in error. Scully and Mulder use the code 27828 to unlock the door when in fact the first 5 digits of Napier's constant are 27182. Unbelievable, Chris. How did you miss that? The fictional Strughold mining facility was named for a real Nazi scientist, Hubertus Strughold, who served as the model for the Klemper character. Story editor Frank Spotnitz said of the episode, I love Paperclip. I was thrilled with the plot. I know it moved very fast for some people, but I actually think that for some of these shows, you don't need to understand everything. And I think that's a very important point that he makes there. We don't have to understand everything. Sometimes you just got to enjoy the coolness of it. Just let it envelop you and don't think about it too much. I think it's more exciting to go at rocket speed. Everybody was on the mark on that one. David and Jillian's performances, Rob Bowman's direction, Chris Carter's writing, everything was just terrific in that show, unquote. Bowman, too, felt that the episode was a standout, and he actively wondered how any of his third season efforts would be able to top it, which gets to your point about how sort of excited you were at the end of this one. In 1996, Mitch Pileggi called the episode one of the show's finest, particularly enjoying the line where he tells the smoking man, quote, pucker up and kiss my ass, unquote. Pileggi claims that that is one of his favorite lines. The scene was used frequently to introduce him at X-Files conventions. And the creators liken themes of this episode to the Star Wars trilogy, referring to the revelations about Fox Mulder's father, and Sophie's choice, referring to how the Mulders were forced to choose Fox or Samantha to be taken. Carter included the motif of the white buffalo after reading a news story about the birth of a white buffalo, to your point, feeling that the image was so potent he did not mind that it did not entirely fit with the Navajo beliefs used elsewhere in the episode. So, there you go, folks. There's some tidbits and trivia on this episode. So, any final thoughts on this one?
No, just a few moments ago you were talking about how we talk shit from time to time about stuff. Doesn't affect the quality of the episode whatsoever. These episodes are as good as X-Files has been to date.
Okay. So, we've wrapped up here our Mulder and Scully, our agents, are back being federal agents now. Skinner's got them reinstated, presumably. So next week, we are going to get away from the aliens and whatnot, and we're going to go kind of to back to a quote-unquote Monster of the Week episode. We're going to be checking out DPO, directed by Kim Manners and written by Howard Gordon. Hit that like and subscribe. Check back next Friday for a new episode of eXhuming the X-Files.